Hi, I am Artem Chubatko. Let's talk about how we can traverse graph data in DataStax Enterprise Graph. We begin with some important preliminaries. In DataStax Enterprise Graph, graph traversals are expressed in Gremlin, which is a standard graph traversal language defined in Apache Tinkerpop. We cover Gremlin extensively in this course. Traversals happen in one of two schema modes, production and development. Those could have serious implications on traversal execution. We do need to talk about default read and write consistency levels, as well as how to change them. Finally, we want to understand the difference between OLTP, or also called transactional traversals, and OLAP, or analytical traversals, so that we can choose an appropriate traversal engine to execute our traversal. Sometimes it's easy to classify a traversal as transactional or analytical, and in other cases, the boundary can be somewhat fuzzy. Gremlin is our graph traversal language. Again, it is part of the open source Apache Tinkerpop project. It is very expressive, in fact, Turing complete, and easy to use functional language with bindings in many programming languages. That includes Groovy, Java, Python, Scala, and many others. Groovy is kind of a native binding for Gremlin, and that is what we will be using in our examples. The differences between Groovy and Java versions are quite minimal. So almost all of our examples are going to look the same when expressed in Gremlin Groovy or Gremlin Java. Here is an example of a Gremlin traversal to look up a movie and get its title and release year properties back. As you can see in our test data, this happens to be the movie Gremlin from 1984. You might have learned about the production and development schema modes when we discussed graph schemas. Turns out that these modes not only affect schemas, but also traversals. Production is a default mode for all graphs as specified in DSC YAML. It is a recommended mode that ensures that you will not be able to execute potentially expensive traversals. Production mode requires an explicit graph schema and property graph indexes for each traversal you want to execute. This enables important performance optimizations and eliminates expensive graph scans. Now, for development and educational purposes, it may be okay to use the development schema mode. This mode is good for playing around, when you're trying to get to know the product, when you first sketching out how your graph may look like, when your schema changes frequently, there is a period of a very rapid schema evolution as you trying to understand your data and improve its quality. This is where you want to be agile and be able to try some traversals without worrying about indexes or even an explicit schema. The development mode allows graph scans and can even generate a graph schema for you on the fly as data is being inserted. Just do not expect that things will be super efficient in such a scenario. The development mode allows graph scans and even can generate a graph schema for you on the fly while data is being inserted. Just do not expect that things will be super efficient in such a scenario. This example shows how to change a schema mode from production to development for an individual graph. It is pretty easy to do. Just do not forget to switch back when you go to production. Graph scans are disabled by default in production mode, but there might be cases when you want them. You may intentionally want to scan a small subset of data, or you may occasionally need to compute some aggregates. So in this case, we are retrieving names of all genres, which is equivalent to scanning all genre vertices and getting their name properties. As you can see, this results in an error in production mode. That is not what we want. It tells us that we need to use an index, but we really want to scan, and no index can help us to scan. We know that in our graph, There are only 18 genres, and scanning them is not a big deal. By setting the graph.scanAllow option, we can execute our traversal and list all 18 genres. Of course, caution is advised here. Enabling scans also enables you to write traversals that will perform poorly. You may naturally think that traversals are like database queries. They find and retrieve data from a graph. However, there are traversals that also find and mutate data in a graph. Since we know that all graph data is internally stored and retrieved from Cassandra, we need to be aware of read and write consistency levels that we use for our traversals. Supported consistency levels are the same as in Cassandra. There are 1, local 1, quorum, local quorum, each quorum, all, and a few others. The default read and write consistency levels are 1 and quorum respectively, and the code shown here changes both of them to local 1, which will result in higher availability but also higher chance to retrieve stale data. Of course, consistency levels should meet the needs of your particular application. Since Gremlin is a very expressive language, traversals can be used for both online transaction processing and analytical processing. It is useful to distinguish OLTP and OLAP traversals because DataStax Enterprise Graph has different engines that are specifically designed to efficiently execute those types of traversals. In many cases, it is very straightforward to see that a traversal is transactional or analytical, but not always. Traversal performance depends on the complexity of both traversal and data, and drawing a clear line is sometimes hard and requires experimentation. To start with, I do want to give you some guidelines to help you conclude that a traversal is OLTP or OLAP. OLTP traversals return results quickly because they target one or few things in a large graph. They use vertex IDs or indexes to access those few things, and further may access a small subgraph by traversing relatively short paths. In contrast, OLAP traversals may take time to execute and usually touch many things in a graph, traverse large subgraphs and longer paths, as well as rely on scan access patterns. When not sure, you can always profile a traversal to see what it takes to execute it. In this OLTP traversal example, we are profiling a traversal that retrieves all movie vertices with title Alice in Wonderland. From the profile, we can see that it happens to be two movies with the same title. They are retrieved using a materialized view-based vertex index, and the whole traversal is executed in under 2 milliseconds. That's fast. You may even be interested to take a closer look at the CQL query used to retrieve data from Cassandra, as well as applied execution options such as consistency level. This is clearly an OLTP traversal. This traversal finds all users in the graph, groups them by age, and counts users in each group. From the profile, we can see that the traversal touches 1100 elements, user vertices in this case, and then reduces the result to a single map with keys and values being user ages and counts. This traversal scans a substantial subset of vertices in our graph and executes in roughly 150 milliseconds. While it does not seem like too slow, we are playing with a really small graph here. Because of the scan, this traversal response time will not scale well with larger graphs. Clearly, this is an example of an OLAP traversal that may analyze a lot of data. The previous two examples used Gremlin console to display traversal profiles. You can also visualize traversal profiles in DataStax Studio. You get this nice view with time for each stage displayed as a bar. You can further click on a bar or stage name to display other relevant information. It is really good idea to execute OLTP traversals using the OLTP engine and OLAP traversals using the OLAP engine. The OLTP engine is very efficient for transactional processing, and the OLAP engine can deal with very computationally and memory expensive traversals because it uses Spark under the hood. Of course, to use the OLAP engine, you have to enable Spark on your graph nodes in a cluster. Examples here show how to use an OLTP traversal source G for graph killer video and an OLAP traversal source A for graph killer video. In both cases, the traversal source alias has the same name G, so that the traversal syntax does not change when we switch between engines. This works in Gremlin console. In DataStax Studio, things are even easier. Each Gremlin cell has a drop-down execution menu to choose one engine or the other. And we are done with traversing graph data preliminaries, and let the fun begin. In this exercise, you will profile some traversals that return identical results, but their response times are very different. We need to learn how to write efficient traversals.